Welcome back to this environmental series on CNC3. My guests are Senator Penelope Beckles, former Minister of the Environment, and Dr. Jyot Singh. He is the Managing Director and CEO of the EMA. Let me ask you this, Senator Beckles. Do you think that the proposed approach with emphasis on recycling and closing down most of our dumps, increasing fines for littering, do you think that will work? Do you think it will happen?
Well, it has to happen. It has to happen. In the case of Beetham and Guanapo, you're talking about a wetland, you're talking about a watershed. It has to happen. And I will certainly give all support to this government. As I said, a lot of the things are already in place. The former Minister of Local Government continued the process where I had left off. And I mean, listening to Dr. Munilal, I expect that, yes, it would happen.
Dr. Singh, how soon do you think that this can happen? Because our people are watching, they're waiting, and they're saying, you know, we're anxious, we want some change. How quickly can it happen?
Well, I'm hoping that the Beverage Containers Bill can be tabled in Parliament, and I'm hoping early next year, you know, in the context of the other issues which must be on the agenda. I think the issue with regards to the green business, I mean, the EMA certainly is moving, you know, in that direction. We're hoping to have a green business symposium in January and planning that so that the business operators can come and see where there are opportunities in terms of investment. But let me say that the Clean Up and Beautify Trinidad and Tobago campaign, you know, that had the full support of the EMA. Indeed, you know, we were upfront in terms of supporting it. And I thought really a critical decision made by our Prime Minister to put that into place, because Trinidad and Tobago has been in a mess. It still is in a mess. And I think that has cleaned up to some extent, but I think it has brought an awareness to the population that we are living under circumstances which are less than we should want them to be. And so that, I think, has been instrumental in terms of getting the population to recognize something needs to be done. The legislation needs to be put in place. The population needs to act through enforcement of the Litter Act, and therefore encouraged, as well as change their attitudes towards the issue of disposal of waste. And so I think a number of things really need to come together for this to work, and I think they are starting to come together.
And the air and water quality bills are soon to be laid in Parliament. They'll happen. But let me ask you something. Do you think that the EMA will really close down a Point Lisa's plant for failing to meet, say, air quality standards?
Well, you know, this is why the air pollution rules are so critical. You know, Point Lisa's industrial estate was established before any of the CC rules were put in place. And indeed, you know, I've heard, you know, reference made to the fact that Point Lisa's might not have happened if the EMA had the CC rules. And, you know, my response to that is that maybe Point Lisa's would be a very different place in terms of how it operates. Because the reality is that air pollution is one of the more dangerous aspects of pollution because you don't see it. Mm-hmm. You know, we focus heavily on the issue of solid waste because it's in front of us and we have to deal with it. You don't see air pollution. And we have industries operating in Trinidad and Tobago. And we are now starting to collect that data. In an earlier program, Ira, you asked about the data. The EMA has been generating some data in the Point Lisa's industrial estate, which we are hoping to make public, you know, within the short term. So, you know, I think that is the critical issue, getting that legislation in place, the air pollution rules. Hazardous waste is a critical issue, which to a very large extent has been left unaddressed in Trinidad and Tobago. Senator Beckles made reference to a hazardous waste inventory, which was formulated maybe a year, 2 years ago. And so we need now to respond to the issue of hazardous waste, because again, they occur in smaller quantities when you compare to solid waste. But in terms of human health and the environment, the impact can be tremendous.